Hello and welcome to this course about creating plugins for Ubot Studio. In this course, we're going to learn a whole ton of stuff related to Ubot plugins. I hope you're excited. I know I am. So without further ado, let's dive right in. Now, before we set up our first project, I want to talk about a couple of Visual Studio extensions that you're going to see me using in the course. So I'm going to show you how to install these so you can just install them right now and get it out of the way. Now, if you don't have Visual Studio yet, you can get the Community Edition for free. Just Google Visual Studio Community Edition, and that edition is free, so you'll be able to find that and download it. And once you have Visual Studio installed, go ahead and open it up, and then go to Tools, Extensions and Updates, and click right here. Now there's two extensions that you're going to see me using in this course and that you should get, and the first one is right here. It's called NUnit 3 Test Adapter. So what you can do is you can just type that in like so, and you can click online to search online. I'm gonna have to type it in again, but just go ahead and search for it online, and you're gonna find it right here, and then there'll be an install button over here somewhere. Or I guess it's a download button. There'll be a download button just like that one right up here. Now the second one is called Add New File. Go ahead, search for that. It's going to be the first one right here. Go ahead and install that one too. The test adapter, what this is going to do is it's going to allow us to easily run tests in Visual Studio using that NUnit framework. So that's much later in the course. We'll get to that later in the course, but we're just going to install it right now. In the Add New File, what this extension is going to do is it's going to allow us to very quickly and easily add different classes and interfaces. This has a shortcut to add a class, and the shortcut is Shift F2. So I'll mention that again when we start adding classes. And what this is going to do is it's just going to allow us to quickly add a class, and it's also going to make it public for us. So it's just a very fast way to add new files. Okay, now there's one more thing. You can hit Control Q, or you can come up here into the quick launch and just go ahead and type show structure, and something should come up. This text editor, I have this ticked. It says show structure guidelines, and I'll try to mention this again when we go into a file and you'll see what I'm talking about. But this is going to create some lines between the opening and closing braces, and it's going to make it a little easier to see. So now let's go ahead and create our first project. So what you're going to do is come down here to create new project. Go ahead and click on that, and this new window is going to pop up. Make sure you select Visual C#, and then what we're going to select is the WPF app for the .NET framework. Now come down here to name, and we're going to name this something like My First Ubot Plugin, and hit OK. Now once the project loads, the first thing we're going to do is delete these two XAML files. So app.xaml or app.xaml and mainwindow.xaml. We can go ahead and select these and just press the delete key and get rid of them. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go into the project properties. The way we're going to do that is we're going to find the project, and the project has this little green box, and it's under the solution. The solution has this Visual Studio looking logo, and underneath the solution you're going to have separate projects. So in this case we have one project, and it's just right under this solution here called My First Ubot Plugin. Go ahead, right click on the project, go all the way down to the bottom to the properties, and now under the output type here, change that from Windows Application to Class Library. Then go ahead and hit Save. Now what we just did is we basically said we want to create a WPF application, but then we deleted the user interface elements out of that. We then changed the output type from an actual application to a class library. What that's going to do when we compile this plugin is it's going to compile it to a .dll file instead of a .exe file. If we had left it as an application, it would have compiled as a .exe. But as you probably know, because I'm sure you've imported a Ubot plugin before, they're .dll files. And that's why we need to change this output type to be a class library. So we can go ahead and close this now. We're done with it. Now the last thing that we need to do is add a reference to Ubot plugin.dll. So you can come to this URL here. It's if you just type wiki.ubotstudio.com and press enter, it will take you here. And down here, you will see plugin development. Go ahead and click on that. And then you're going to scroll down a little bit. And under making your first plugin, you can download the Ubot plugin.dll from right here. So go ahead and download this DLL file now if you don't already have it, and then we're going to import it into the project. So once you've downloaded that Ubot plugin.dll file, right click on the references, select add reference, and hit browse. This is going to pull up a window, and you're going to be able to find that Ubot plugin.dll file. Now, I've already used it a whole bunch, so it's right here for me. Once you start using it, it'll just show up like this for you. So once you have it, just be sure that it's ticked, hit OK. Now, as you can see, the references tree has expanded, and we can see at the bottom here, we do indeed have a reference to our Ubot plugin. So just be sure that that's there. Hi there. I just wanted to take a brief moment to mention that this video is part of our complete Ubot development course. If you want to learn everything that I know about creating Ubot plugins and be able to add your own functionality into Ubot Studio, then click the link in the description box below or visit us at elitebotters.com. Thanks and enjoy the rest of the video. Alright, so let's go ahead and test this plugin to make sure it's working. To do that, we're going to create a hello world command. Now, traditionally, you would right click up here, select add, new item or class, but oftentimes you would go to new item, you would select your class, you would name it. I'm going to name this delete me. You don't have to follow along with this. And then you would come up here and you would make this public. Like so. Now the reason we installed that add new file extension is to make that whole process much easier. So instead of doing all of that, with my project selected here, I can hit Shift F2. That's going to bring up this little dialog window, and we can now type hello world.cs. So go ahead and follow along if you haven't already. Go ahead and hit Shift F2, or if you want to do it the old way, that's fine as well. Either way, go ahead and create your hello world.cs class. Now when you select add file, you'll also notice that public is already there and this whole class is ready to go already. Okay, so we've added our class. Now what we need to do is we need to implement an interface in order to create a Ubot command. And to implement this interface, we need to be using the Ubot plugin that we referenced before. And I'm going to go into a lot more detail about the interface and things like that in the following videos. For now, we just want to make sure this works. So I'm going to kind of skim over some of the finer details for now. And we're just going to make something that works right away. And then we'll go more in depth in future videos. So for now, even if you don't get it, just follow along with me. So we're going to bring in this Ubot plugin by referencing the namespace up here. So we can type using Ubot, and as you can see, IntelliSense is just going to say, Ubot plugin right there. So we can go ahead and select that like so. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come to our hello world class name. We're going to put a space, a colon, another space, type IU, and right away we can see this iubot command comes up. So we're going to go ahead and hit enter because that's what we want. And now we need to implement the interface. So right now, IntelliSense is giving us this red squiggly. It's saying, hey, this is an interface. You need to implement the interface. Otherwise, you can't just have this up here like that. So in order to do that, we're going to hit Control period, which is going to bring up this menu. Alternatively, you can hover over it with your mouse and hit Show Potential Fixes and just select Implement Interface. Now, again, I'm just going to skim over the finer details and we're just going to fill this out for now. And in the future videos, I'll explain what all this stuff is. But one thing I want to note right away, in case you're using an older version of Visual Studio, or maybe you have a setting that shows it differently, you may see something different. So what you may see, instead of it looking like this, is something like this. Public string, I'm just gonna name this CMD name, but I really mean command name. I just don't want it to yell at me right now. Then you might see some opening curly braces like so. And then you might see something like get, throw new not implemented exception. You might see something like that. And in a newer version of C#, we have this expression body property. These are the same, but because I am using an updated version of C#, and you probably are too, most people probably are using it this way now, and because it's a lot shorter to write it this way, for those reasons, in this course, I am going to be using these expression body properties. So if yours looks slightly different like this, you can write it in this way as of C# maybe 6 or so. So as of a few years ago, actually. So we will be writing it this way. Okay, so let's go ahead and actually fill all this stuff in. So for this command name with this big fat arrow thing here, go ahead and just put 2 quotes and type hello world, like so. For the category, you can just write like first Ubot plugin commands, because this is going to be a command. For this IEnumerable of Ubot parameter definitions, all we're going to do right here is type new list, do an opening or a less than sign, and just type Ubot parameter definition. It's going to come up in IntelliSense, like so. Is container, just type false right here. Ubot version, just type Ubot version dot standard. And now inside of this execute method, get rid of this and type the following: MBOX tab. That's a code snippet. It's a fast way to write a message box. And inside of these quotes here, just type hello world. And this is yelling at us because we're using a WPF application, and this is trying to reference a Windows Forms application. So all we need to do here is delete this forms and the period like so, and go ahead and save that. Now what we want to do is build this and import it into Ubot to make sure that it works. So what you can do is come up to build and hit build solution. But what you're probably going to see me doing quite a lot is just hitting Control-Shift-B, because that's the shortcut. So this time I'll select it from the menu. In the future, I will probably use a shortcut. Just take note of that you can always come up to this build menu up here and select build solution. Now we're going to right click here and hit open containing folder. I'm just going to copy it off to the side for me. But if you hit open containing folder, it's going to go ahead and open up a folder, Windows Explorer for you. And then you can come into bin, debug, and here is your new plugin. So all we need to do now is import this DLL file into Ubot. Okay, and once you've added that, you're going to notice that it says unreviewed plugin. So we can hit OK, So we're going to get this warning saying that the following plugins have not been reviewed. And anytime you compile a bot with an unreviewed plugin like this, then this warning is also going to come up. So that's sort of Ubot's way of ensuring that you use a legitimate plugin and you get a plugin key from them and things like that. So, but don't worry about this, because it's fine if you're just using it for yourself to test things out. They just don't want you to distribute these plugins without keys, basically. So for testing purposes and things like that, this is totally fine. Don't worry about this. It is normal. So go ahead and hit OK. And now, as you can see, we have a new category that says first Ubot plugin commands and a command that says hello world. Go ahead and run that, and we do get an alert that says hello world. All right, so that's going to do it for this video. In this video, we added some extensions. We set up these code lines, which I should mention, by the way, these are the code lines that are in the options up here, what I was talking about earlier, that said show structure guidelines. If you just type that in up here and hit enter, this check mark here will turn these guidelines on and off. See how they're gone now? And I can put them back on like so. And it just makes it very easy to see the opening and closing curly braces. So in this video, we added the extensions, we set up the show guidelines, and we set up our first plugin, and then we set up a very basic hello world command just to ensure that everything was working properly. And so from here, obviously, we're going to keep building upon this knowledge and start explaining what all this stuff is. So I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks for watching.